Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the Cynthia Manion Show. Tonight, we have the absolute pleasure of hosting a truly inspiring guest, Dwyer Hansen. Crystal is an internationally acclaimed speaker, author, entrepreneur, and transformational life coach whose work has profoundly impacted thousands around the globe. Her deep insights into human potential, combined with expertise in neuroscience, quantum physics, and epigenetics, has guided countless people from states of anxiety and depression into lives filled with triumph, freedom, and joy. Alongside her husband, best-selling author Mark Victor Hansen, I'm sure you've heard of him, Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul, all of those. Crystal has co-authored the transformative book, Ask, the bridge from your dreams to your destiny. Together, they're passionately devoted to sustainable solutions for our planet through their companies, Natural Power Concept, and Metamorphosis Energy. Tonight, we'll explore the power of tapping into your inner potential and how to reshape subconscious thought patterns, and why the simplest act, learning to truly ask, can open doors to your destiny. Let's warmly welcome the incredible Dwyer Hansen. Woohoo!
Thank you, Cynthia. That was a very nice introduction. I'm very happy to be here with you.
I am delighted to have you. And Crystal, welcome, welcome, welcome. You grew up in a large family. Yes. How did your early observations about human nature shape your career?
Well, yeah, I'm from a family of 9 children, same 2 parents. And so I started noticing, honestly, at a young age that, here we are with these 9 children, same 2 parents, growing up with the same rules, eating out of the same refrigerator, and just how different we all were, how we all came in with our own personalities, our way of looking at the world, our way of interpreting things and processing things, and our response to that and what we would choose for ourselves, right? And it was at that point I realized that, life is so much about perception and decision, seeing things in a certain way, interpreting the way you see them, and then making a decision around that about what you're going to do and who you're going to be. And so you have these 9 people who are all, we love each other so much, but so many differences in, what we've done and where we went and how we see things. It's pretty remarkable.
And you've done so many different things. What inspired you to transition from financial services and real estate and modeling into transformational coaching?
It's funny, Cynthia, because even all the time while I was doing everything, especially like, selling homes, I love doing it, by the way. I love homes. I love real estate. I love investing in my own real estate now. But I would start helping people with their home buying decision, which is a pretty intimate relationship when you're helping somebody buy their home. It means a lot. And somehow people would open up to me, like a lot. But that's happened to me my whole life. People would just share so much with me, and I would end up just sort of intuitively knowing how to help them. They'd share personal things. And I would just sort of see a way that I could maybe help them. And I would suggest a few things and they'd try it, or they'd say, can you write that down? I don't know how to say that to my boss, or I don't know how to talk to my husband like that, And so over time, they'd come back and go, that worked. And, I told my son to do what you said, and now he's not getting bullied anymore. And it was always about, my advice was always about working on yourself, because you can't change someone else. You can only change how you present to them. And so I started just feeling this call to do something very different. So I went to Southwest Institute of Healing Arts. It's the biggest holistic college here. And I did the whole life coaching training. I did the hypnotherapy, master hypnotherapy courses. I did all of these things, studied emotional freedom technique, EFT, just to find all of the tools and modalities I could to help people, go from where they are to where they really want to be, and understand why they're not there already, why they're not getting there. So I opened a practice and people were coming to me. It was really, I had a simple website, in the beginning and didn't really do any marketing and just started getting clients word of mouth. And people were having amazing transformations. I mean, I'm talking people who had been depressed their whole lives were like, I'm finally free of the crushing depression I've had my entire life. People who were addicted to all kinds of things. One time I had a woman who had a Diet Coke addiction, believe it or not. She literally couldn't stop drinking Diet Coke. It was an addiction. And her doctor told her she had symptoms of MS. I mean, like all these symptoms that were mimicking MS. And if she didn't stop drinking Diet Coke, it was going to kill her. And so she's like, I've got to do something. So we did this intake, life coaching, and then I did some emotional freedom technique and hypnotherapy, told her to listen to I would make a recording for them, listen to it for 30 days. And in 30 days, she's like, well, I didn't even, she let me know. She's like, I'm doing great. And then I didn't hear from her for like 2.5 years. And I get this call from her one day and she said, Crystal, this is Marina. You won't believe it. Like you hypnotized me. I don't know if you remember, but you hypnotized me for a Diet Coke addiction like a couple of years ago. And she said, it worked and it worked so well. She goes, you turned me into a pure, clear water drinker. And I've been just drinking water and it hasn't been a problem at all for me, to the point that I was at a birthday party the other day and they ran out of water bottles. And so there was just Diet Coke there. And she thought, I'm so over this. I can just drink a Diet Coke. And she's like, ever since I did that, now I'm kind of like feeling the cravings again. So I was like, okay, come back in. But it is remarkable how you can change anything, because everything we do, every habit we have, every opinion we have of ourselves, every negative thought and negative thought pattern we have about ourselves is just a habitual entrenched pattern. And those patterns can all be changed. Our minds are very neuroplastic. We can identify those patterns and pathways that our mind just keeps defaulting to because it is a default program, and then address it very directly, and then redirect those patterns and do it so that they become new habits. That's the thing, is replacing an old habit with a new habit.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And Jake says, awesome. Thanks for joining us, Jake, from Australia. You've helped many people overcome seemingly impossible circumstances. What's the first step someone should take towards transforming their life, Crystal?
The first step is you have to recognize where the faulty pattern is coming from. And usually that takes going into a really quiet state. You can do that in meditation. You can do it kind of in self-meditation and self-reflection. It is helpful to have someone, a therapist or a hypnotherapist or someone guiding you, a life coach, to take, do that intake with you and kind of take inventory of your life and start to identify, like, where do these first of all, what do you not like? What is bothering you about your life? Okay. That's where it starts. You need to identify that, and specifically, and be really gut honest about it. And then you have to start asking the questions. And this is why Mark and I wrote the book. Who do I want to be? What do I want? Because most people never ask those questions. They don't like what they're getting. They don't like their relationships. They don't like their life. They don't like who they are. They don't like their health and fitness or their jobs and career, but they don't really have a clear idea of what they do want because they're not asking the right questions. And so that questioning process is so very important. We get into that a lot with our book.
Yes. And I have to say, Ask really works. I, of course, have read Ask, and I was sitting right here and I looked through my Facebook for a second. I try not to do it too much. And there was a picture of Crystal and Mark on airplane going, headed to DC. And I went, whoa, you're coming to my town. Call me. We'll have dinner. And guess what? I asked, they called me, and we went to dinner. And here is Crystal and I in Washington, D.C. on the streets, leaving dinner, I think we were.
Yeah,
we are. And it was so much fun to give her a hug in person, not in her little box, and see how we
Right.
related. Seriously, she is so fabulous. She could be my sister. I can't wait to just take a long walk. You know how we just walk and talk and
Yep.
a hike, and it is the best. And then we were just standing there, and here we are going, okay, please take our picture. Please,
Do you
please, please. I just
see?
want to make sure I get one of us together. And
Yeah.
then Mark was just coming back up from the restaurant, and he came and jumped in too. So now that we have Mark Victor Hansen and his beautiful wife, Crystal, and me in Washington, D.C., just finishing dinner. Or actually, we went from one dinner to another dinner that particular day.
Yeah, that was
And now we have Preston joining us. Oh, here's Mark and Crystal and I at the second dinner. And then the whole family was there.
woo, those cuties.
They were so adorable. They were so good. They're so personable. I can't wait to see what each one of them grows up to be, because they are on top of it. Talk about different personalities, and everyone's just like sparkling there. It was such a wonderful treat. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, you are most welcome. And thank you for being so gracious and patient with everybody. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we are so proud of each of those wonderful kids and our kids and our grandkids, and have high hopes for so many beautiful things with them. Yeah.
And you already are. So tell us about your book, Ask. What inspires you and Mark Victor Hansen to write such a great book?
Sure. So, as you know, Cynthia, Mark and I have been so privileged, honored to travel the world, teaching, leading, coaching, and trying to, inspiring audiences. And we started noticing a pattern, and that was people who are extremely masterful at asking questions also happen to be very masterful in their lives, right? And we noticed that they seem to know how to ask the right question at the right time in the right way. And it continues to be an ongoing resource to them, those questions and the answers that they deliver. And so we started digging into this more and started thinking about, well, what about questions in our lives? How, we think we're onto something here, but we realized that at every juncture, both individually and together, as we were navigating through life, anytime we'd go through trials, tribulations, challenges, issues, it was when we sat down and started asking a new question that all of a sudden we would get a new plan, a new roadmap would start to come to us that wasn't there before. And that is the beauty and the magic of asking questions. When you launch a question, your question goes out into the universe. And literally, it's an energetic force that starts engaging with answers and engaging with solutions. And until you ask the questions, that doesn't happen. And, human beings, if you think about it, this is really profound, are the only beings, the only animal on this planet that can ask a question, right? We have that ability to ask. And interestingly, we looked at a lot of studies when we were writing the book. When you ask a question, a different part of your brain lights up, and it's the part of your brain that does critical thinking. So instantly, when you start asking questions, your own brain becomes a better resource to you. And so we were like, this is cool. The more we dug, the more excited we became. It was like peeling away layers of the onion, right? And so we thought, well, so we determined there are actually 3 channels through which you need to ask, right? And each one of them is equally important. And those are ask yourself, ask others, and ask God, right? So the asking yourself part is that reflective journey that we were just talking about a second ago. Like, how can you know where you're going when you don't even know where you are right now? And you don't know where you are right now because you never ask, is this working? Am I happy? What are the flaws with what I'm doing? What is causing this turmoil? Whatever it is, until you stop and ask, nothing changes, nothing. And then, sort of the second phase of that is, first, like, where am I now, of the asking yourself part. The second phase of that is, where do I want to be? Most people never really entertain that. They're afraid. They're afraid to dream. They're afraid to imagine. They're so stuck in what they see around them. We get all of our feedback from our current life, yet our current life is just a reflection of the things we've thought in the past, right? So what if you ask a new question? What would it be like if you had your ideal life? And we say, when you're trying to change your life, go on that stage of your imagination and ask yourself those questions. What is it like living my ideal life? Who am I talking to every day? What is it like living my ideal career? What is that? What products and services am I offering? How are people responding to those, and why? What is it about those things I'm offering that people like? When you start asking these questions, clarity pours in, right? And you start to see yourself differently on the stage of your imagination. You start to become a different person for yourself. You become a different model of a person for yourself, the model you really want to be, right? And in relationships, like, what do I really want? Who do I want to be with? I cannot tell you how few people write down their desire and wish list of the person they want to be with, that person they want to share. What are those little qualities? What are your adventures? What do you like to share? What things really matter to you? I think people end up in just dysfunctional relationships because we never ask and answer those questions ahead of time. And we just think randomly, somehow the universe is going to deliver, but the universe delivers, God delivers to a clear picture. That's you clarify in your attractor field, you magnetize what you're putting out there, right? So you have to clarify what you're putting out there. And if you're not getting what you want, then you're putting out the wrong signal. And the only way to change the signal is to ask. So, first of all, the first phase is like, where am I now? And then second phase is, where do I want to be? What's the ideal? Go to the nth degree of your ideal life and start asking those questions. How did I get here in this ideal life? What did I do? Who did I talk to? Who are my friends? And then the third step is really putting that in action, because we live in this physical world of action, right? We need to say, what's the next step? Who do I need to call? Who do I need to reach out to? Who's doing this thing in my ideal life? You can't sit on the couch and think it's all just going to drop into your lap, right? You got to get in motion. And then getting in motion really helps start to manifest those things. So, that's the asking yourself part. That's your what we call the reflective journey, right? So the second channel through which we say to ask is asking others, because you can't do this life alone, right?
Right.
That asking others is your bonding journey. And I promise you, you will never be a complete success until you bring others into your journey. If you keep thinking you can do this alone, you're fooling yourself. We need each other, right? We all bring a different piece to the table. And so I know in our business, in our partnerships, it's like, geez, we couldn't get by. We couldn't do what we do without key strategic partners, including Preston, and it's like, yeah. So it's so important to, have others in your life and really get better at asking others. It's super important. And then the third part of that is asking God. And really that's just about putting your whole life and your existence in a bigger, grander context in this universe, in this universal context. Like, what is your role in the kingdom, right? And when you think about it like that, it gets really exciting, right? It's not a lot of fun to think you're just doing this for yourself. Like, you actually have a piece in this. You have a part to play in this whole world. And there's no one just like you. And so remember that. Remember that. Don't discount your qualities, your purpose. You can touch people's lives in so many ways, little ways and big ways, and they all matter. And, just connecting with God and that higher purpose is it brings your soul so much joy. And always asking those questions, because you really are tapping into a higher power of direction when you ask God.
And you're living your best life now because you wrote down your 250 or whatever there were things and really reflected on this and, quote, did your homework and knew what you didn't want and what you wanted. so that when the opportunity kind of presented itself, Mark was going to make that happen one way or the other anyway.
Yeah.
It works and it's fabulous. And I just am like, yes, yes, yes. I
Right.
was just discussing this with a girlfriend 2 days ago in New York, as a matter of fact. And we were going, because I'm helping her and we're doing a 250. Where are you now? And where do you want to be at the end of your legacy, and working backwards and doing the timeline. So it
Good.
falls right into, so pick up this book, ask, because it'll even give you more questions and more things that you didn't look for. And it makes it so much more fun. There it is. Ask. It's available on, well, Amazon's always the fastest, easiest, but it's also at Barnes & Noble and lots of little stores. And
Yeah.
after you read it, you can join askthebookclub.com. And there's some extra goodies in there.
That's right. Exactly. And you know what? You will have so much fun. Like when you start what we call taking the asking journey, your life changes so much. You almost don't recognize it. I mean, the testimonials that we get from people, it's like they try to explain to us how much their life has changed. And it's really so dramatic. And you realize how stuck you were before once you start taking that asking journey. I think you remember this, Cynthia. We talk about the 7 roadblocks to asking in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't have to go through all of them, but what we discovered is everyone has at least 1 or 2, if not all of these roadblocks to asking, right? I don't know, we get scared to ask. It's funny. We come into this world as these beautiful little uncorrupted children who are so ready to ask, right? We want to know everything. We want to know who, what, when, where, why, right? And drive everybody crazy. And we also are not afraid to ask for the best and the most, and ask for more, because we know we're these little entitled spirits who say, this world is big and beautiful. Why not, right? Yeah. And then depending on how you were parented, what your parents got sick of you, like, oh, stop asking so many questions. I'm tired of hearing you. Or, at school, they're shutting you down, going, do not ask questions unless you're called on. And then you go to work and your opinions aren't valued and people are, not interested in hearing your ideas. Or you go to the military and it's even more rigid. It's like all of a sudden we're standing there as full grown adults going, like, terrified to ask for anything. Like, people are so scared to ask and almost ashamed that we don't have all the answers. And what a tragedy, because guess what? We're never going to have all the answers in this life, right? You have to keep asking and you cannot be ashamed. We say embrace that childlike curiosity again, because we all had it, but it gets crushed out of us. And it's time to bring it back. Yes. It will make you come alive again.
A shout out to Patricia Gadget. Thank you for joining us from Canada. And she writes, fabulous way to consider our future. Love. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is amazing stuff. And it's like water, food. You have to do it every day. I know you meditate every morning, as I do.
Yes.
And I was listening to one of your other podcasts, and I do the same thing. I pick 3 things for the day in the morning during that meditation. And those 3 things will make my life better. And I have my bigger ones, but I do 3 that I know I can get done in that day. And you check them off and you're like, woohoo, here I am. And every 1 step forward every day, 1%, 1%, 1%.
That's it.
Oh.
And congratulate yourself and feel good about it.
Yeah, good job. Good job. Yay.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no reason, like, you have to, we're all a practitioner in life. Like, I think sometimes people think that everybody else has the answers, but I don't. And I wish I did, because it seems like everybody else knows what they're doing except me, right? So many people think that, right?
And it says, you really never stop learning, so we shouldn't stop asking. Exactly.
I love that. Thanks, Kevin. That's so true. But yeah, we have to keep going. We're just practitioners in this life. We're practicing. We have to practice life every day and practice to be better and better and better and better. And the journey is never over. We just have to keep going. And so for me, that's the exciting part about life. Like, if you don't like what's going on, let's change it. I'm saying you can change it, right? Start asking questions. Let's get on it.
And rethink everything. Rethink your breakfast. Rethink how you make your bed.
Right.
Rethink how you brush your teeth. You can be wearing down your teeth using your right hand all the time if you're right-handed. Switch to your left.
Good
You'll get
point.
new little grooves. I mean, seriously, every single thing. Walk a different way, drive a different way, eat a different way,
Mhm.
go to a different restaurant, make a different phone call someone from your past, call someone from your future. Reach out. It is so much fun. And you get this little seed going, woo, woo, I did that. And it's makes you want to jump up and get going first thing in the morning because you're so excited. Uh,
It does.
right? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so excited every day now. I'm just like, oh, good morning. I walk around saying good morning to all parts of my body, and I walk down and I go, good morning, living room. Good morning, my little plants. Oh, yes, there's Patricia.
Break
Break.
up those synapses. I love that. Yes. Interrupt those synapses. And I think that's, people get depressed or hopeless or bored. You have to keep, like she said, breaking up those synapses and look at the vitality. Like life is buzzing inside of us and around us. And it's only because we're not recognizing it that we get in those ruts. Once we realize that, everything starts to change.
Yes. So, what common destructive thought patterns hold people back from achieving this goal?
Yeah. So yeah, the first one, the first roadblock is unworthiness. And that is a universal roadblock. I will tell you, most human beings carry a little bit of unworthiness around inside of them. And it's like this unnamed unworthiness. And it kind of starts in our childhood, just with this series of things that could have happened, maybe not big things, but it's just that sort of little voice that tells us we're not quite enough, right? And so these roadblocks, each and every one of them, is so important to recognize because they will keep pulling you down. And so once you identify them, you go, oh, no, I know what you are. I see you now, and I'm not going for it, right? And you realize that's the one that's been getting me down. Okay, that's why I'm not asking. I feel a little unworthy. I feel like I'm not enough, or I'm not good enough, or, that sort of thing. Another one is naivete, which this one I love because I tell this story in the book about this darling Filipino woman who worked for us when the children were young, because Preston was 9 years old and the girls were born a year and a half apart. And it was just crazy at our house. We were busy all the time. And she came in and she was just like pure love. She fell in love with all my kids instantly. And she would come and make these yummy dishes from her homeland. And she used to make this pancit. The Preston was his favorite. She even made some for him to take to school to feed his whole
Oh,
classroom.
nice.
It was so sweet. Yeah. So anyhow, she comes one day and she cuts up this orange fruit on a plate. She hands it to me and she goes, "Try this, Crystal." I go, "What is it?" And she goes, "It's mango." And I go, "Mango? I guess I've never had mango." And I taste it. And I go, "Wow, that is the yummiest fruit I've ever tasted." And she goes, I said, "Melda, where'd you get it?" Thinking she must be importing these mangoes from the Philippines or someone sending them. She's like, "I got it at the grocery store." And I was like, "Really? These are at the grocery store? How did I not know that?" I'm just like going to the grocery store and passing the mangoes by all the time. And I thought, it's such an interesting lesson in life. Like, what else am I missing? That's so good, so delicious, so wonderful, but I don't even see it because I'm naive. I'm a girl who came from Idaho where there's lots of potatoes, but no mangoes, right? All right.
That brings up
And
a good point. You could write a list of, 50 things that you don't know about and see one a
exactly,
week or find one a week. A person,
exactly.
place, thing, or food or
Right.
fruit.
Right. We're all naive. And what if we're walking past our next best friend and we don't even know it? Or because we're just naive to what's out there for us. We're not curious about it. It's back to the curiosity. We're not curious enough about this world around us that we're missing things. And that naivete that we all carry from our own subjective experience of growing up where we did in this, family that we grew up with and the culture, there are always limitations. And so, what if you step outside of those limitations and start to be curious and wonder and start to look at people and things and opportunities and experiences more? It is amazing when you start to ask, what are these things? What could they mean to me? how that changes your life and your experience and how it will open doorways you never realized were there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I know you get that just because you're so good at that, like getting out and connecting and asking and wondering, right? So let's talk about some of the other roadblocks. One of them is excuses, just sort of that stubborn pride. I know you guys all know this person, and maybe you're this person, but just has so much pride they refuse to ask for help from anyone.
You know,
They
some
just
of those
can't,
hurts.
can't do it, right?
Uh,
And
Patty says, Cynthia and I learned that in Texas. Woohoo! Yes, we did. We had
that's
a thing with Glenn Morshower and Ken Walls, as a matter of fact. And that's
oh,
where we
awesome.
met in Texas a few years ago. We're
How
due for another one. It's coming up this year.
yeah, you
Woohoo!
don't want to miss those. Yeah,
But
it's
but it breaks my heart when there's someone, and I actually was going to ask you how you can talk to those people, because I've tried different ways, wrote a note, called, left a fruit
right.
basket, and crickets.
You know, it's sad because sometimes people like that, like in the book, we talk about Mark's brother, and just he was always that guy. Like you would try to help him, and no matter what, it's like, no, no, I got it. I don't need this. You know, he didn't ever want help, advice, information. Mark dropped him off at the airport one day. He's like, hey, brother, because he was like 10 years older than him. He's like, let me walk you to the gate. Let's, like, no, I got to figure it out. So he goes, he'd just gone on a gold mining fishing trip in Alaska, and we call later, we didn't hear from him, but he got back to Tennessee. So Mark called his daughter the next day, and he's like, is Bailey okay? And she's like, oh, you didn't hear? He didn't make it on the plane. He sat at the airport for 13 hours.
A waste of life.
And right. And she's
oh.
like, and now he's home. And she's like, I just took him to the doctor. He has pneumonia. Okay. All you had to do was like ask your brother to come in. All you had to do was walk up to someone at the airport, ask for help, ask where the gate is, ask what time. He could not ask anyone for anything. He thought it made him weak. And I think a lot of us, and people, have that stubborn pride that, they make excuses. No, I'm fine. That's a really important one to pay attention to in yourself or with people you love, because it can really sabotage their success, their health, their wellness, their future. Sometimes your kids are like that, You have to be careful with kids because they shut down and they're like, no, I don't want to ask my mom that, or my dad, it's important to get people to open up and really share the idea that questions are so innocent, Questions open doorways. Questions lead you to better outcomes. And I think it's just really helping people understand the power of asking questions. So I want to share one more, Cynthia, did you have something else?
No, please go. No.
Yeah, I think that I'm not going to do all the roadblocks because I know people want to read the book.
This is good. And they can pick up the book and dive into this even further. But
yeah, exactly.
How about hearing it from the author herself?
Exactly. It's fun. It's fun to talk about it. I think one of the saddest roadblocks for me is the roadblock of disconnection. And that is where, because we say, the books is Ask the Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. And we really believe that God seeded these beautiful dreams in each of our hearts. We do. We all have these special dreams that in our hearts that will lead us to our destiny if we're willing to do what we, the bridge from your dreams to your destiny. It's like you have to cross that bridge. You have to take those dreams in your heart, start asking the questions that will lead you to the answers that will lead you across the bridge to your destiny. And I think the saddest roadblock for me is the one of disconnection. And that is very literally where people start to disconnect from the dreams in their hearts. They had all these beautiful dreams, and then life comes along and life's been tough. And even, through the COVID years, life got really, really challenging for people, I think. And a lot of people disconnected from their dreams. And that is so sad because your dreams are still there waiting for you. So, start asking the questions again. Start asking what it is you're supposed to be doing, because that is so important that you become that expression you were made to be in this world. And don't ever stop. don't ever stop that journey.
And when you ask, take the quiet time to listen, because that
Right.
little voice will tell you in the
Mm-hmm.
weirdest ways. I get a lot of those little, in the shower. The water, I guess it's cleansing, and you just go, and you keep a pen and paper, just write it down so it doesn't go poof out of your mind. And
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh, that's such an important point. Like, we have to write this stuff down, and we call it an asking journal, just keeping an asking journal, right? Because you will be so surprised when you look back on that journal. I am not kidding you. I mean, I have these journals. I pulled one out the other day and I said, Mark, this is going to blow your mind. I hadn't looked back on it in a long time. And it was when we were in a lawsuit, being unfairly sued. We were, it was costing us a fortune. This was back when we were in California. We have to see what Kevin says. Yep. I love that. God has given us what we already need, and that's each other. Yes. We are each other's greatest resource. And so it's funny, as you start to become, even asking people, what can I do for you? Is there anything I can do to help you? It's amazing how that opens up this reciprocal pouring out of the universe, right? Of things that can happen for you. I mean, you get it back tenfold. And it's not that you're doing it just to get something back, but it's like, there's nothing more rewarding than asking people how you can help them. I'm just going to skip ahead to that because I want to talk about that. There's a section in the book called Becoming a Granter of Wishes. And that is exactly what we're talking about here, is asking how you can help others. That's where you really change the world.
Life. Yes.
Yeah. And as you're struggling, right, to really become a better question asker in your own life, start asking what you can do for others, and it will make it easier for you. And just open that flow of love. We're all full of this sparkly, beautiful light and love, and we block it and we don't see it. We don't see it in each other. We don't see it in ourselves and others. And if we just open up a little more, ask each other, just ask, and be there for each other, and ask what we can do to help. Ask if someone can maybe help you. It's amazing what happens. Yes. And do it with love. It's amazing what happens when people how much people bond when they do that. And I just getting back to that point I was making a minute ago.
Yeah.
I looked back at my journal and I remember I wrote down all of these things. God, I asked for all the things we needed, all the resources, and oh my gosh, I was like, Mark, these came true to a T. All of these requests were answered. Like, I can't even believe we were in this state of like struggle and like, it was huge amounts of money. We're talking in the million. It's like, so yeah. So it all miraculously resolved, because life is miraculous, but you have to engage. You have to make it happen. You have to start asking, start engaging, start offering. Ask for what you need, ask others what they need, and things really start to move. So yeah, keep your journal, because you'll look back and you'll say, whoa, look what I asked for. I asked for a man that was this has these qualities. Look, you're it, honey. It's crazy. And you might forget about it for a while, and then you go back and go, this really, really works. It's super cool. I wanted to go back to the bonding part for a second, because we did look at all these studies. First study, it showed that like everybody coming into the study had this perception, right? That if they ask someone for a favor, advice, information, that maybe they would be looked at as being irritating, annoying, obnoxious, which is why they all agreed they were hesitant to ask. But the reality of the results of the study showed that that's just the opposite. If you're just willing to ask someone for help, information, advice, they'll give it to you. But here's the other part. They won't just do it. Oftentimes, They won't impose themselves upon you unless you ask. So the asking part is important. Never be afraid to ask, right? They did another study, a Harvard study in business settings, right? So they studied people who, like business partners, who asked more questions. And what they found in these studies is the business partners who asked the most questions and then more follow-up, like probing questions, were the ones who, at the end of the day, the people considering doing business with them or wanting to do business with them they found those people who asked the most questions to be more likable. Those question askers were the most liked. And that is because when you ask someone a question about themselves, you're telling them, I'm interested in you, right? I care about what you think. I care about who you are. And then when you do a follow-up question that's more probing, it's even that bond grows stronger. So it's just important to remember that in all relationships. Deep dive, right? That's right, Patricia.
And it works. And it works in every business and every relationship.
100%.
Truth.
Proof. Absolutely. So it's a pretty miraculous thing for sure.
Let's talk about your other book, Skinny Life, connects emotional and spiritual wellness with physical health.
Yeah, I'm rewriting Skinny Life actually, because there's so much I wanted to add to it. So it's not on the market right now. But yeah, I just realized through my coaching practice, right, that it goes back to everything we've talked about, that a lot of people would come to me and they'd say, I lost some weight, but I saved my fat clothes for
I'm
when
actually guilty of that. I have,
in case I get heavy again. And so what we realized is they never got rid of that fat person inside, the identity. And so a lot of my work has always been about a change of identity, because when something's going wrong, you are identifying with a version of yourself that is not what you want, right? And you are naming yourself that. So they would think of themselves, they would call themselves fat, or they would call themselves heavy, or they would, expect to gain weight. And, it was all sort of this mental management of expecting to be exactly what they didn't want to be. And that is because they claimed a false identity for themselves, right? And that can be a really powerful exercise in the ask process, asking like, what identities have I claimed for myself, right? Do you think you're a person who's destined to never have a happy relationship, right? You think that, oh, my mother didn't, my father, we take on these identities and we don't even realize that we become that identity. And the truth is, we are the ones who 100% control our identity. It is inner work, right? It never comes from the outside, but so many people think it's just something they were cursed with, something they were born with, bad genes, right? So with the Skinny Life, the principles were like, throw away your scales and stop counting calories, because none of that matters anyway, because it's not about the calories. A 300 calorie donut and a 300 calorie chicken breast is going to be a completely different food in your body. It's going to create a whole different cascade of events inside your body. And one series of metabolic events is going to support your health, strength, your energy, your muscle formation. The other series of events with the donut is going to tax your pancreas, stress it out, create fat cells in your liver. All of those are going to tap your body for insulin. Your body's going to freak out, So I said, I want you to love foods more than you've ever loved them. Just love the foods that love you back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we did a lot in product. I had a whole like digital product, which I need to totally update because, like I said, so many things have changed, and I just I want to redo it. But it was such an exciting program. People loved it because it was a whole different way of thinking about weight loss, like releasing the fat identity completely.
Can you break down how our subconscious influences our daily lives?
Yeah, I mean, your subconscious constantly influences your daily life. That's why you need to check in with it. That's why you have to do the deep inner work. Okay, because the conscious brain basically processes just a fraction of what's going on in your brain. Your brain, there are so many bits of information coming at us at any given second, like all kinds of things, all kinds of data, that our brain has to, in its efficiency, pick and choose and categorize, and it pushes things. So your brain is like this pyramid, right? It's like, yeah. So the iceberg, this is your conscious mind, this little tiny dip, this is the conscious mind, and everything else is your subconscious, this huge reservoir down here. That's your storage bank. That's everything, every experience that's ever happened to you, every time someone screamed at you, made you feel like you weren't enough, every time you were rejected, not picked for the team, everything that's happened, every time you were scared out of your mind or terrorized. And so all of those things get stored. And so those are your programs that you're in your subconscious mind that you're walking around with. And the more trauma that you're walking around with, the more it's going to affect your life. And when I say trauma, it doesn't have to mean like you just went through this horrible attack or something. People process trauma very differently. Sometimes it could just be watching your parents interact and this feeling of being out of control, or something. And like you might lose your family. That can be very traumatizing, so all of these things, there's just thousands and thousands of things that get embedded into our subconscious mind. So we really need to get in touch with that and start to understand where the programs came from. And, a lot of our physical appearance is those subconscious programs. When people are struggling with weight issues, there tend to be a lot of that, even, self-hatred, self-loathing, all of these things that can make you not love yourself enough to make it your business to just honor this beautiful thing that you are. This is your temple. And this is your spirit that lives in your temple. And so you have to make this temple as beautiful, take care of it, honor it, love it. And so often people have so much deep subconscious, self-loathing or self-hatred, and they don't know how to deal with it. You have to start asking these questions, start logging your journal, start finding out what it is inside. Your subconscious will reveal that to you if you take the time in quiet space to do that. It's really important. And I know someone asked a question about weight loss or made a comment. What was that, Cynthia?
Kevin says that he recently lost 20 pounds. Good job. And he's kept it off. Yay, Kevin.
Yay. Yeah.
Yes, you are what you eat. So eat things closest to the earth.
Closest to the earth and simple, right? Simple. Like simple ingredients, one ingredient kind of thing. Yeah. Fresh, wholesome, like as much, natural fruits, vegetables, the greens are so healthy for you. And I do, the lean proteins and also source it organically as much as you can because of the chemicals that we're dealing with now.
And wash your fruits before you eat them. Wash even your lemon peels. Wash them before you put them in. And remember, you're getting rid of that stuff. As Glenn Morshower says, that's old, that's new, goodbye, and just get rid of that stuff. I know it's easier said than done, but keep going. Is this serving me? Is this serving me? Is this serving me? So what's one simple but great practice that you recommend for better wellness every day?
So meditation is critical. You just have to sit and at least give yourself 10 minutes if that's all you can. Even 5 minutes is better than nothing. I like to put on mindfulness music, like really beautiful music that kind of feeds my soul. and clear your mind of all the stuff. You don't realize how busy and chaotic your mind is. The more you can clear your mind, the more you make it an open vessel to receive these answers and to receive, these questions that you're posing to God and to the universe and to yourself. Like, those can come back to you if you give yourself that quiet space in silence. But you've got to do that. You've got to be good enough to yourself to do that one little thing. It's important, because we think the world is coming at us from the outside and happening to us. It's not. Your world is created from the inside out.
And never forget that.
Right.
You and Mark co-own Natural Power Concepts.
Yep, we
and
are.
Metamorphosis and Metamorphosis.
Yeah, well, we sold that off. I'm sorry, that was probably that on an older biography. But yes, we sold that. Just didn't have time to. Yeah, but the Natural Power Concepts is a really amazing company with different concepts, and we're not super involved personally, but yeah.
Patricia says meditation and prayer brings us clarity and purification. Yes, my darling, you are so right. What is the best advice you have, Crystal, for about achieving true happiness?
It's really, you can't be happy unless you really know yourself and understand that you are generating your life from the inside out. It really isn't happening to you. There's nothing that's happening to you. It's everything that is around your life. This is a hard concept for people. It's your life around you is a reflection of your consciousness at this state, this place in time. It's a snapshot of how you've thought about your life and yourself up to this point. So the most powerful way to change that is to feel, see, and know yourself in a very quiet space in a different way. But to understand the different way, you have to ask the right questions so you get to the place.
So let's put up where your viewers can connect with you and learn more about your work. Eric, if you'll put up crystalvisionlife.com. And we have, so write these down or replay this, share it out. Crystal Dwyer Hansen, Facebook, Instagram.
Yep.
Crystal Hansen, Dwyer on all those. And then after you read Ask, you can join the askthebookclub.com.
Yep.
Finally, Crystal, what's the one key takeaway that you like listeners to remember most from today's conversation?
I just want them to know that whatever they're not happy with in their life, they can change it. They have 100% power over their lives. That's important.
Go the extra mile. Make sure you share this out. Make sure you tell your friends and just do it. Just do it. Carve out a few minutes. Write those things down. Do your journaling. Just do it. You've got to work on yourself, because if you don't, who will? Right? Patricia says, so blessed to be able to hop on this evening. Oh, thank you. We're so happy that you were here. It was so fabulous to have you. Patricia could join us on our walk. She would join in our sisterhood. So easily. Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank Crystal Dwyer Hansen for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
She's a clear, bright light illuminating the way for all of us, and we want to walk down the path with her. So share this out, rewind it, listen to it again, hashtag it, and I will see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Crystal's time in Arizona. And be good, make wise choices, ask, read, write, think, go the extra mile, because this is your world, this is your life, and you own it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Cynthia. Take care, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. And if you'll go back into the green room for a minute, we will just take a picture or two. And we love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.